Hey, welcome back to College Money Talk. I'm Drew Schlotter, certified college financial consultant over at Woodson Wealth Management. Today, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people don't know, and that is the transferability and the flexibility within 529 plans. So, a lot of people know what a 529 plan is. It's a college savings plan that has some tax benefits. Um, what a lot of people don't know, though, is that you can actually change who your beneficiaries are. So if you set up the account um, for one person, and then let's say you set it up for your oldest child, and then they go to school and there's money left over, you can actually change the beneficiary to someone else. But there are some taxes and penalties that may apply depending on who that is that you change the beneficiary designation to. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Um, Really, there's six different scenarios here. Key thing to remember is as long as the new beneficiary is a member of the family and is of the same generation as the current beneficiary, then there's no income and no uh, transfer tax consequences for changing the beneficiary. Um, so even though the account owner still maintains control over the assets, any beneficiary changes are viewed as gifts being made to the current beneficiary. Um, So let's take the first example. You set up the account before a child is born. Um, so here you have a parent. You set up the account. Let's say your, due date is in 6 months. You're excited to be new parents, so you go ahead and set up that 529 plan before the child is born. Well, then when the child is born, you have to change the beneficiary designation over to the child's name, um, and this results in it counting as a gift to that child. Um, Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, not a big deal. So now let's say you change the beneficiary to another family member of the same generation. So let's say your oldest child has gone to school, they finished, and you've got another child getting ready to go to school. So you change the beneficiary over to them. Um, so a taxable gift will be made upon the initial funding. So the first time when you funded it for the oldest child. But not when the beneficiary is changed to the second child or the family member of the same generation. Um, and I keep saying that your second child, but this could be um, their cousin. So I have a daughter. If I set up a 529 plan for her and then later change it to my sister's daughter, my daughter's cousin, they're in the same generation within the family, that doesn't trigger any sort of tax ramifications. So that's okay. Um, it's just a gift to my daughter when I first fund the account, and then really no impact when I change it, as long as it's within the family um, and same generation. So now let's look at changing the beneficiary to a non-family member. So maybe you know there's only one child in the family. They go to school. There's money left over, but I've got really good friends that I want to change it over to. Um, I want to help fund their kids' college. Well, this counts as a taxable gift, and there's going to be a 10% penalty. So that's the penalty is only on the earnings um, of the deemed distribution, but there is a penalty involved there. So that's something to keep in mind when you decide to do that. Um, so now let's look at for grandparents. Let's say a grandparent wants to set up the account and they want to set it up before the child is born. Um, it's a taxable gift that's subject to the generational skipping transfer tax. That's basically a tax that's set up to make it where um, families can't pass down assets and avoid estate taxes. Um, so that would be the GST tax would apply when a beneficiary is changed from the current account owner, which would be the grandparents because they set it before the child is born. So it has to be set up in their name to the grandchild. So that would be a generational skipping tax situation. So, and the GST tax is substantial. That's a 40% tax. So we want to try to avoid this if possible. Um, and another next situation is you change the beneficiary from one generation to another. Um, so taxable gift is made by the grandparents when the account is initially funded. So let's say it's made to their children. And then another taxable gift is made by the parent when the beneficiary is changed from the parent to the grandchild. So let's say my parents had set up a 529 for me, and then there was money left over. I wanted to, they decided they wanted to move the account and make my daughter the beneficiary. Well, that would be a taxable gift from me to my daughter. Um, and then that last situation when it's made within um, the generation. So grandparents set up a 529 plan for their children, or sorry, for their grandchildren. There's a taxable gift that's subject to the GST tax um, when the account is initially funded. But then if it's moved within that same generation, there's no other taxable gifts um, as long as the new beneficiary is a member of the family and of the same generation or higher. So like it could go up, but it can't go down as the current beneficiary. Um, I know that's all can be kind of confusing. The main thing to remember here is as long as it's within the same generation, it's not a problem. And there are annual gift exclusions um, that can help bring some of these taxes down. There's also a lifetime estate tax exemption that can apply. All these things can help counter it, but those are the general rules. Transfers within the same generation in the family, not taxable, no penalty. If you move it outside the family, there's a penalty involved. Um, so